was just gonna ask.
You
I
got it
was
on
just
me.
gonna ask. I was gonna ask the party chat here just before we started. Do you guys think that based off of how we already see society changing, based off of this AI, large language models, do you think that we are devolving or evolving? Or do you think like humanity is actually getting stupider and leaving the thinking to
We're
the
changing.
LLMs?
I think we're spinning in a giant circle. The void, bro.
Samsara, big Samsara.
It's a double-edged sword.
We're gonna
Give
make a
and take.
singularity, and then I'll be reset. And everything.
Yeah, bro, you just
Wide,
lagged out so hard for me.
Wide Oasis is already in the singularity. You can hear it.
Yeah, yeah, that's what. Yeah, bro lagged out so hard he became a
It seems.
transformer.
He is ChatGPT.
Yeah,
I'm gonna plug in my AI persona into Project Icarus, so
There you
I'll live
go.
here forever.
There you go.
hell
Now
yeah.
you're talking. Yeah. I love it.
That means when you die from a Fent
I'll be a
overdose,
slave.
I can still talk to you in the afterlife just through Discord.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I like secretly lead you down like the worst path you could possibly take.
Yeah.
And then I take
I'll
some
be
Fent,
evil
and then
AI.
die.
I think we should just
Hey, you can only try it once.
upload our consciousness to a comet coming by shortly. Drink some
Hell
Kool-Aid.
yeah.
I'll make it.
There you go.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Sounds
the
like a
AI
good
They'll make
idea, right?
robots out of us.
Sounds like a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
All right, guys. Well,
All
I think
right.
we're about there. Yeah. What do you think, Knight?
All right.
Good to go?
Yep, we're good to go.
Sweet.
Going
Well,
live.
thanks for muting you guys, the ones that did. You can unmute yourself if you want to talk or anything. But thanks for joining us. And yeah, so this time we're going to be talking about the void, but let's talk about how everyone's doing. I know, Knight, you had a cool dream you wanted to share, some questions about it, whatever that we can discuss. Doesn't have to be a cool dream. So your face there is like, ooh, maybe it's not. But yeah, go ahead and share your experience that you had.
So this I went to bed tonight or yesterday and I had a brief dream about being on some type of a like zip line or something, and I was like going across like the Himalayan mountains, and I saw prayer flags everywhere. It was so beautiful. And then my alarm woke me up to wake me up at 3 in the morning because I was actively doing wake back to bed tonight. And when I woke up at 3 in the morning, I decided, okay, well, I need something to do for like the next 15 to 30 minutes. So I decided I would beat the summer heat and I would take my dog for a 3 a.m. walk to the park, literally a walk to the park. And we chilled, we had some fun. Walked back, got back by like 3:25, and I was in bed by like 3:30. And I just before laying back down, I took some galantamine, 4 milligrams, and I struggled to kind of relax. I don't know if it was the walk or what, but um, finally, after a little bit, my body started relaxing, and I started seeing lights behind my eyes. So I knew I was kind of like reaching hypnagogia. And after I estimate to be a few more minutes, I started getting an auditory hallucination of like some type of screaming. It sounded like some sort of monster like screaming at me,
It's always fun.
and I can't even replicate it, but just kind of imagine some sort of guttural yet high pitched screech just like screeching at you like an aggressive manner. And I thought about what me and you were talking about in the DMs about be ready. You basically you have to train your mind to confront whatever comes up within your psyche. So and then I started thinking about the like the hero's journey stuff that we started talking about. And during all while I was getting these auditory hallucinations, and I just started like leaning into it, and I was um actually got kind of a smile from it. And eventually, after I kind of like got comfortable with the screeching, it just went away. And I continued to see a little bit more lights, and then I started seeing basic images. I don't even remember what I saw, but finally I felt like I dipped into a dream, and honestly, it wasn't the best night. Um, I kept popping in and out of dreams constantly, like in and out. I would like there was this one moment where me and my friend were trying to reach another friend, and she couldn't find my friend. So I was like, "Oh, I know where he's at. I'll lead you right. I'll lead you right to him." And as we're going up the path, this cop stops me, and he's like, "Yo, I can't let you go any further, and I'm gonna have to take you in." And I'm like, okay. So like I reached in my pocket, and I had like a whole bunch of like random trinkets that I wanted to show this friend that we were gonna go see. And I was in like a park setting, which it was funny enough the same park that I took my dog to,
Hmm.
um, which is funny to me. And I picked up all the trinkets in my hand, and I threw them behind the dumpster so the cop wouldn't like know where they're at. Because I don't know. It was just random objects. It wasn't anything illegal. It was like some crystals or trinkets, stuff like that. And he stopped me, and I was like, "Wait, I know I can just teleport out of here. I don't know what I'm doing." So I put my hand on my friend's shoulder, and I'm like, "Don't worry, we're gonna get out of here." And I used like Goku's instant transmission from like Dragon Ball, and I teleported us out of there to my friend's house. And then the dream ended. Like the dream ended there. I was in a completely different dream. I don't remember. I remember some giant monsters chasing me. And then that dream ended. And then I had another dream with some sort of other adversary. And then, funny enough, I had another dream where I went back to the park and then picked up the trinkets that I threw behind the dumpster. So it
Hmm.
looped all the way back around. And then it was just like in and out the rest of the night. I was like in a dream, out of a dream, in a dream, out of a dream. And like, I was like, damn. And then I remember a few moments of lucidity here and there, but it wasn't actually like I was in the dream, It wasn't like I was deep enough in REM. So, like, I don't know if you have maybe a suggestion for maybe tonight when I do wake back to bed again. So like today's like my day off, so I was like I was gonna do some more wake back to bed tonight. Um, I don't know, like how can I get deeper into the dream? Do you have any suggestions based off of that feedback?
Well, there's lot to unpack there, especially with glutamine. That kind of is the how it works. Um, if you read people's reports with glutamine, um, the dreams can be very chaotic like that, and a lot of false awakenings. Um, for example, I used glutamine one night, and also the uncomfortableness kind of the situation that maybe you felt in your dream. Um, that's kind of how I would quantify like glutamine dreams as being very uncomfortable and kind of like uh, uh, very cerebral versus like um, artistic and emotionally positive. Um, so a lot of glutamine dreams are based on the reports and the research associated with glutamine in dreams is that quality. They're uncomfortable dreams. They produce lots of false awakenings, um, and it's very difficult to fall asleep on it. When you do, it can be nightmarish. So there's actually work of using glutamine for like PTSD and trauma because the after effect of encountering the experiences in a dream state has like a positive effect in waking life. So kind of like facing those fears, even though maybe you're not wanting to do that, you don't really have a choice with glutamine sometimes. So then you're like, oh, okay, and you wake up and you kind of have that release. So there's a lot there. Uh, for me, like one of the last times I used galantamines, I had 10 false awakenings in one dream. So I literally thought I had killed myself or died in my sleep, and I was now in the afterlife. And I was
Holy
like,
shit.
yeah, 100%. I even had the awareness of like, okay, I'm clearly dead now, and this must be the afterlife. And and then I shouted out, I want to wake up, and that's when it finally woke me up out of the dream. But it was actually very had a lot of anxiety in that one, and that was kind of the
Or
last time I really took galantamine because I was like, wow, this stuff is just um, really intense. It's like,
do you do you remember if it was 4 milligrams that you took?
yeah, for me, I'm very
Okay.
sensitive to it, um, and everyone's different, but I'm sensitive to anything. So sometimes less is more for me. I've realized over the years. But and then there's sound effects that you're hearing, like when you're entering into hypnagogia and dream states. Very common. We've talked about this where certain sounds are associated with like certain chakra points based on like um, yoga traditions, right? So certain like some people may hear flutes, they may hear like bongs, um, trains are a common one. Like people, they're not really associated with trains and yoga, but because it's more of a pre-train era uh, association. But bongs and screechy metal and things like that, are quite common. So you could think about it as like your energy systems in your body, or what I say is associated to your certain regions of your brain being activated, which then create these auditory vibrations, and then you hallucinate those vibrations, auditory through your auditory systems, and then you're like, oh, like that's what's happening. So like, and then your brain interprets that in a certain way, right? And you may have like a visual and auditory hallucination associated with that. You're like, clearly there's a monster in my room, but it's like really just a vibration occurring in your neural pathways in your brain. So, um, at least that's one grounded approach to it, I think. Um,
Most of my auditory hypnagogic hallucinations tend to involve some sort of entity.
yeah, yeah,
I don't chalk it up to anything supernatural or anything. It's just my mind playing tricks on me. Um, Last thing I will say though about the dream that I did forget to mention, I did make one lucid decision that I do remember distinctly. And this guy was chasing me in one of the dreams, and he was in a car, and he was like trying to run me over. And I thought to myself, why am I running? I'm dreaming. And then and then I pulled out a Smith and Wesson revolver, started shooting at his car, and he drove away.
nice. Yeah, I mean,
So, yeah, so like there was a little bit of lucidity there.
yeah,
There was like a little bit of consciousness in these dreams. It was just not enough. I wasn't fully immersed in it, and I don't think I was deep enough in RIM to actually take full advantage and complete any of the tasks that I
sure.
wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, and that is kind of a trait with Gluntamy too. It's like, at least for me, um, there's moments of lucidity, and lucid dreams will be the same way. Um, there's like moments of lucidity, and then you may lose it, then you may gain it back again, and
Yeah.
even you, like in a lot of the dreams that I've have where I'm somewhat lucid, it's like me being lucid or capable of being lucid in a dream, but I, as the persona of me, isn't. So it's like there's two of me. One is capable and has
Mm.
awareness where I don't. Another one is where the dream characters or entities or whatever you want to call them are aware of the dream, why I'm not aware. So I'm not lucid, at least myself, but the things in my dream are lucid and aware of the dream and trying to actually assist me into become lucid. So like dream guides and stuff like that.
I like what you said there, how you said one part of you was aware, the other part wasn't. Um, and it just so happens that the part that wasn't aware seemed to be the more dominant in that part of the dream.
Yeah.
So, like, would you say a good example of that? Would it be fair to say, like, one part of your psyche is the actor, which is the unconscious one, and then one part is the movie director, which knows it's all a dream?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Putting the label on it, that's challenging for me. But yeah, like you have this
Yeah,
the
it's
right
sort of the
idea.
ego to put label on things, yeah, which is
Well, I
kind of
mean,
like the
yeah,
opposite.
we put labels on like the right and left brain and stuff like that too, just to communicate. But yeah, I mean, the idea is that there's a part of you that is aware, and then there's a part of you that's not aware, and those things can change and shift around. Um, and also, like, I tend to think that the experiences that I have in the dream, as well as the dream content and everything in the dream, is an aspect of myself, right? Because there are those associations I've had in life. Um, so then those things might be even aware, right? Too, like dream characters and things like that, which are me being aware, but then me not aware too at the same time. So it's very confusing, and I think um, a lot of people that are trying to put labels on things and trying to like structure this to make sense, which is fine, but it's kind of a chaotic realm, right, that we're experiencing, and so it's more of an art form than a um, this rational like logical thing that is happening. Kind of go with the flow, right? Versus like trying to structure it and like, okay, my name is uh, Knight, and I'm doing this, and if anything is outside of that, then that's not me, and and so forth, right? And doing that, I think you're going to run into a lot of like confusion, and then maybe
It
even
muddies the water.
yeah, you may even have like some real disturbances, in your psyche trying to rationalize that all out, because you're like, oh, well, that's not me. What is that? Like
Yeah,
that's
my subconscious will just start sending monsters after me while I'm trying to complete tasks because I
yeah,
said I wasn't a part of it.
yeah, and I mean it's an easy route to go down and definitely uh, reasonable to like um, personify these experiences and these entities and these visitors as like outside yourself, but and they could be, right? I'm not saying they're limited to that, but as you experience them as they are part of you, right? It's like to signal, say there's a signal and it's called this entity, right? Whatever that is, right? And it comes into your mind. Well, then the signal is now mixed. It's part you and part it, right? So as you experience it, even if it is real, you're experiencing it as part of yourself. And so that is the kind of the power that you have,
It's it's still within you, so is
right?
that entity really like apart from you?
It could be and it could not be, right? So it is you and it's not you. And that means like a parasite, right? Like a parasite is like attached to you. It's part of you now. It can only survive by being part of you, but it's also itself, right? But you experience it as part of you and itself. So like the entity that you experience, the power that you have over the experience is how you engage with it, right? How you engage with the entity in your mind. So even if it is an external entity, to me it makes sense to kind of like, oh, okay, well, you're in my mind, you're in my domain now, maybe there is a domain that you exist in, but you're in mine. So let's let's have a good time, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's not easy to do that. You have to have some kind
You
of
play by
awareness.
my rules.
Yeah, like the meme of in Lord of the Rings where the guy's like, "You have no power here." It's kind of it always comes up to my mind. It's like you have no power here, but
Mhm.
that takes some level of awareness too, which is like makes this even more complicated. And also like the when you were telling me your dream experiences remind me of like the scene from Star Wars where Luke goes into the cave and confronts his father, the and the hero's journey of that, right? Like that's a Joseph Campbell like hero's journey, um, archetypal
Yeah.
experience, like 100%. And he's encountering his shadow, right, himself, um, through the his relationship to his father, right, and who his father is Darth Vader. Spoiler alert. But
Damn.
I
A little
know,
bit.
yeah, surprise. But and I think your dream was very similar to that. Like you're encountering this other part of yourself that's like there, and it's kind of the point, to engage with it, and then move into like these more. Once you engage with that, then you can gain lucidity, or you can have these more positive emotional experiences in the dream state, which is very common to people um, structurally, right? They'll have the fear experience, and then they'll have like these experiences of others and entities and things like that, and then they'll have like a positive experience if they continue, um, and all these other emotional states versus fear. But fear is generally first, and then sometimes it's skipped over or not remembered. Um, there's like some research that shows like um, every single night you go through a fear state initially. So it's like every single night a person
Mm.
has um, this horrific nightmare experience that you just don't remember. And so and these are like peer-reviewed articles talking about this, right?
Oh
There's
wow.
a book called The Dream Drugstore that goes into it, and I wouldn't say I totally agree with that. I think sometimes it's bypassed, right? But I do think it's super common that if you woke somebody up during the transitional phase into from hypnagogy into dreaming, right? Then they would have like some type of nightmare type experience, and that's where the
Yeah.
research comes from. And it clearly is like the case when we talk about um, lucidity and lucid dreaming, things like that. It's like I always tell people, hey, just be prepared. If you go on this path, you may encounter some things that are uncomfortable because that's
You're
just
gonna
like,
deal with some shit.
yeah, it's just how it happens. So
um.
does that help?
Well.
But I mean, your
Oh yeah.
question about like deepening the experience, too. I think it's just nature of galantamine, man. It's just so like, um, you're so active that it's hard to like get deep into this like relaxed state. It's just like hyperactive, and it's incredibly difficult to fall back to sleep on it. So like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
was
like,
having that issue.
and and really, it's very similar to like the experience people have with like mushrooms, right? Psychedelics. It's like, I can't go to sleep. It's impossible to go to sleep. But then like suddenly you'll start, if you're trying to go to sleep, you'll start dreaming. But then you'll kind of go in and out of these like dream states. Like you like, it's like if you are just too awake, and you can't sleep, you're like, it's like insomnia almost. Like eventually you'll start dreaming and when you have insomnia if you lay there long enough, but it'll be like in and out, in and out, in and out, and you're like, oh god, I just want to sleep. You know, I want to go deep into the sleep and just forget, you know, about this whole thing. You know, and galantamine's
Yeah.
like that, but you're like setting yourself up for it.
Hmm.
Does that help? I don't know.
That answers a lot of my questions, and it goes into some of like the almost like the philosophical nature of like what I like really liked about like what you said was like how it might be possible that we all have a fear dream every night. And it just kind of reminds me of like the four seasons of Earth. Like, it makes sense. I mean, like you you start at these stages, you're entering different theta waves, gamma waves, alpha waves, those types of things. So it's that like that makes sense to me. It makes sense to me.
Yeah, it does to me too. And again, like it's not set in stone, right? Like you may
Yeah.
skip, right? You may experience things outside of the norm, right? and that's
Mhm.
just how it is, right? Some people don't have horrific nightmares, in lucid dreams and stuff like that. They're like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about, right? And it may be that they don't have a strong like trauma response that other people do, right? And or they work through some of that stuff and they just naturally don't kind of grasp onto like the trauma and use it, right? But then there's some people that do. So like everyone's going to be different. And then like the worlds and the experiences that you have in your dream states, of course they're going to be different, right? But also similar, right? So there's going to be a structure there that we all kind of like can relate to in dreams. But like I kind of think of it as like a house. Like a house can have like the similar structure, like it has a doorway and like rooms and a kitchen maybe and bathroom probably, all these things. But then it may be different, like how it forms, right? Like you may have multiple bathrooms or whatever based on your needs. And then you have wallpaper and coloring and all this other stuff and things inside your house that are like specific to you. So like, yeah, there's structure there, and it's very similar because we have similar brains, right? We live on Earth, hopefully, and some of us, and then the wallpaper and all this stuff, it's going to be different. So all the things that all the associations that we have through life and our experiences are going to be different, and put a different color on the world that we see, and that's fine. I think the problem is like where if we're really trying to understand dreams experiences as like a world experience, like apply it to other people, we kind of have to have that in mind. Is like maybe my experience isn't exactly the same, but maybe there are similarities to it. And I think the similarities is what is really um, interesting to me, right? It's like these cross-cultural similarities to people's experiences, and I think it's interesting to a lot of people because we have a lot of similarities in like religion and things like that. And dream experiences are very they they very much touch on religion. Um, they're religious to
For
me
sure.
in the sense that religion is in my the meaning of religion. The word means to bring together, right? It's the same as yoga, which means to yoke together. You're trying to take um, heaven, which is the concept of like the unknown, right, the unconscious, and merge it together by what is conscious, what is physical, what is material, right, what is rational, and understand it, and reunite those things together to become one. And and I think people that really explore their dreams in a more uh, uh, spiritual approach versus like trying to control everything are really trying to do that, right? They're trying to kind of reunite these two things into one and be more together. So, um, I think that brings us into like the topic um, that um, Snazzy actually brought up again, and that's the void state. Um, Many of us have probably experienced the void state, especially those who have been able to go into lucid states quite a bit. Maybe not quite a bit, and some people may experience it the first time they have lucid dreams, or they may experience it even outside of a lucid dream. And and we can talk about the qualities and things like that. But has anybody had like any of those
Hmm.
experiences before? Yeah, night.
Wait,
Yeah.
can can I get a clear definition as to what you define as a void state? Because I don't really quite understand what that means.
Yeah, that's a good question because I mean a void state is, and I was thinking about on the drive home to get on. I was like, what is the void state? Um, because it kind of expresses itself in many forms. I mean, a void is like formless, right? So it doesn't have any form to it. But I would like to expand that kind of out to be like the associations around it, right? Because if we're talking about a void state, we really can't talk about anything because there's like nothing there, right? So the true form of the void state would be like um, maybe you're in a dream and you're literally in a space of nothing. There's like nothing around you. even the word nothing is like not there, right? It's just formless and completely like I'm sure many people have seen The Matrix, the white room in The Matrix where they load up a bunch of guns and whatever, right? It's like that, but inverted. It's black usually, right? At least for me, it's like a black slate that is formless. It has nothing, and then things form out of that. So it's like before form, right? Does that? I mean,
So it's the state before form, but like, do thoughts still come to you, and can you still conjure up images out of it, or like items, or like,
well,
does that
yeah,
still
that
make the void state?
it would be then it wouldn't be the void state if you conjure something up, but you clearly can think, right? You're like, wow, this is like, where am I, right? So you're still some aspect of you um, is still there, but um, you're just in a space where there's nothing but the thought of you, right? Which is
So
still not
would it
voidless.
would it be sort of like a dream meditation then? What is
um,
that, like a meditation? Is that what you would call it?
well, like meditation for me is hard to describe to you because like meditation is like a state of mind versus like a method of method. There's many methods of meditation, but essentially yes, like a meditation is to get to the void state, right? A lot of people think, well, like, wouldn't it be cool if I go in and I meditate in a dream? And it's like, yeah, that's cool and all, but that's actually a method to get to nothingness, right? To void. The
I
void
see.
is like kind of the point. It's like you're in nothing. Your mind is completely and utterly blank because you're not seeing any form. So a lot of times, like use the word like bardo in like Tibetan uh, traditions, right? And that is like a formless state too, right? So it's like just nothing, right?
I had one nightmare where I was falling for a little bit. I want to say it was probably at least 20 seconds. 10 to 20 seconds. It's hard to tell time in a dream.
Yeah,
But I was falling and it was just blackness.
yeah,
And like I think I was falling face down or maybe I was falling forward. Either way, I don't think it really matters because the whole environment was black. There was no features of it, and I was falling. And whatever orientation I was falling in, I don't think really mattered because I turned around while I was falling, and then when I turned around, I saw a big white theater mask just
mm,
come out of the darkness, and then I woke up instantly.
interesting.
That's
That's
like that's like the only experience that I could kind of say is similar to what your
yeah,
definition
absolutely,
is.
absolutely, man. I think all those features that you described are very accurate. Like and again, like structurally, like you can find those features in dream experiences from other people. So like the mask, like the theater mask, oddly is like something very common in psychedelic experiences, um, as well as like uh, what's it called? I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't remember the name of it right now. Not Datura. It's a Salvia divinorum. Yeah. So like salvia experiences, people have described those things um, popping up, right? These weird like theater images of like jokers and the gestures and the mask that a jester would wear. That is probably what you're describing, like the theater mask.
Yeah, like Phantom of the Opera
Yeah,
or Opera.
yeah,
Yeah, that type of thing.
yeah. And I have no real explanation as to why like those images are so common for people, but
Maybe
it's just
because it's featureless, but it still looks humanoid.
yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
But like the colors and things like that appearing out of it, or the sensation of falling, it makes sense that you'd have that kind of like that sensation because it's like a void. It makes sense your brain would be like, oh, I'm at blackness. Clearly, I'm like falling in falling, right? Because there's in
Yeah,
space, like I would fall, right?
I
So
feel like the most powerful feature of what I described is the lack of orientation. Like it
yeah,
didn't really matter if I was falling forward or backward. It just kind of was. I knew I was in movement. That's because there was no features, so it was hard to
Right.
tell.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you have no relationship to any other object, then how do you know which direction you're going, or even if there is movement, but you may feel as if there is movement because your brain's trying to make sense of it. Um, and it is very common experiences for me, the same thing. I never really had the fear associated with the falling other people do, um, especially like people that have. I've found it very common for people that do submit reports in our project to comment on some of the fear of falling, because that's some of the tasks are associated with entering into the void and trying to like teach people how to actually engage with the void state in order to start um, uh, kind of using it like the matrix, right? So you're in the state of like nothingness, and then you can use your imagination um, to start generating things associated with what you desire, right? And um, that's one of the uses of it, at least in that I've found and other people have found with this void state. But in getting into the void, I'll just tell you some of the stuff for me. What actually started it was spinning. So um, for whatever reason, in dream states, I um, felt like I needed to go deeper, and this may be useful for you. When you're trying to get deeper into the dream, and so I started spinning for some reason, and um, it just felt
Spinning a
natural,
little bit, or like
like a
spinning
top.
like Taz the Tasmanian tiger.
Yeah, like well, it starts short. It's just rotating, I guess, like a top, but not super
Oh
fast.
yeah,
It's just like I don't know. I started spinning. It's hard to describe that, I guess. Like if you get dizzy, trying to get dizzy in a dream. Let's just say that. And
yeah.
through that rotation, I could feel like a pressure building up, and then the dream would get deeper and deeper and deeper, and then it transitioned to me falling. Um, because I was like, well, the spinning is kind of difficult, but maybe if I just do like a fall, like I fall on my back, like like a trust fall, I just close my eyes and just fall backwards. It'll give me that same sensation of the loss of like the dizziness and the loss of like gravity, right? And so then I just fall on my back and immediately would transfer into like this black void. And um, I was like, I don't know what this void is, right? But then I kept doing it over and over and over again, and um, and usually I'd feel that pressure build up, and it would get kind of scary. Like I was like, oh, this is like too much pressure. And then eventually I just was like, I'm gonna stay in here and see how far it goes, and just kept going and going and going. And eventually like images started appearing, and then and I started seeing like textures and things like that to this falling sensation, like this like the space, and I'd see like walls, and uh, and it started turning into like a tunnel. So then I was like, oh, this is weird, and I wondered if other people would see this tunnel too, and so I had a group online that I ran, and I'd asked them to do the same thing, like just fall on your back and see where it takes you, like in a lucid dream. And I didn't tell them what the features they'd see or anything like that. And very few people were able to do it. Um, I asked. There's a group of probably like a few hundred people in that group, and only 3 people ever completed that and actually wrote back. And 2 of the 3 people said they saw a tunnel, right? And they described the walls differently. Oddly enough, like there's different textures to the tunnel, but they all saw a tunnel. And the third person didn't see anything. They're like, I just fell forever. Like there's no texture or anything. But I found it interesting at myself and 2 other people out of 4 people or 5, I guess, saw this tunnel thing. And for me, like I started touching the tunnel. I spent more time there, and it had this feature to it that was like black, like an oil, like uh, it's hard to describe really, like oil sheen black, right? And reflective like a rainbow. And I also like put my head inside the wall of this tunnel, and it chimed like bells, like like chiming bells. And I was like, and the thought that came to my mind was immediately, this is the material of reality. Like this is the material of God. That's what really came to my mind. Is like, and it was like unconscious. It was like I just knew it. I was like, this is the material of God. So years later, I was talking to like a guy that's very into knowledgeable about occult text, and he sent me a link, and it took me to his definition of what's called, I'll try to pronounce it correctly, probably not doing justice, but it's called Ansophora. And I haven't read this, so I'm trying to, um, I'll try to read it like short. But it has a quote in here. It says, "Behold, our God is a black God, too brilliant for mortal eyes." And then, "This is the black Osiris, the night, preceding white Osiris. The white Osiris is the manifest, physical universe we perceived, and which the Bible calls day. Um, Scientific technology today is catching up with the esoteric past, and now declares physical substance fundamentally to be comprised of light, substance, and vibration. They have yet to declare just what this light vibration might be. However, the smallest physical particle for years have been known as the quark. More recently, an even smaller particle has been revealed, and this for the lack of any accurate description name. Science has labeled dark matter. And so aura is the dark matter. And now science even searches for the God particle, a misnomer we're told, which has taken on a life of its own in many communities. The night or dark matter is the ocean of black liquid light, and so aura a living, uh, omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent substance, permeating every aspect of all manifest and unmanifest level of experience. So I'll stop it there. But
That sounds pretty intense.
yeah, the main features associated, like clearly this is like some form of like religious text or perspective on um, like the experience, but the experience regardless is there, and it's in for other people to have engaged with um, uh, the void and gotten into these deeper states, have noticed also that um, this black material and this void-like experience is associated with an ocean too, an ocean of blackness, um, and I find that really fascinating. Um, I'm not sure if anybody else in the group has experienced similar things or can speak to this blackness or this ocean of black um, that maybe has come up in dream experiences. Um, has anybody? Does this ring a bell to anybody in the group? I know I'm putting the spot on people, but
I mean, I have a lot of experiences, but the thing is, I want to hear from other people first.
thanks, Snazzy. But I mean, maybe other people aren't interested in sharing, but I would. Since you spoke up, Snazzy, how about maybe you give us some information about your experiences, and maybe it'll open up other people to share too.
All right.
Don't be afraid to share in the text chat, guys,
Yeah,
if you guys
checks
don't
too.
want to talk. We'll read it off.
mhm. um, I just actually I had a void experience like last night, but I couldn't do my task, so I didn't report it. I mean, I couldn't even enter the void. I mean, maybe I all I can say about it, it's like I tried to do the trust fall and just fell from my back, and I didn't enter the void or anything. I just like saw. Let me just say I was in some kind of jelly form texture.
Hmm.
Like let me say, like, between the ground and between the void. I was stuck in there, and like my eyes were closed, and I was thinking, okay, just focus. You can get out of this. And I was thinking, if I want to open my eyes, I I probably wake up and open my real life eyes, and I mess up everything. And I tried so hard, and I was thinking about you, the things you teach me, everything, and I tried to like remember those lessons I learned to like enter the void, but I couldn't do it anyway. I finally wake up, and I couldn't do it. That's why I just say this because maybe some people don't do it the first time I did the trust fall. Some random cartoony effects coming into my vision and saying like "oof, ouch" and stuff. I reported that, and you guys told me no, that's not it. After some time, I entered the back rooms because before even joining this server, I had like some kind of idea of back rooms that if you no clip into a ground or something, you go down deep and find yourself in an empty hallway in a maze. And I knew it wasn't it. And even after some time, could saw a colorful void. Like there was stars in it, and I know it wasn't the main void I'm entering right now, but my best experience, like my first time I actually saw the void, was like I did a trust fall, and I remember I was sleeping with my sweatshirt on, with my jacket on, and when I fall back, um, I could like feel the wind around me, even hear it, and even hear my zip line like moving beside my sweatshirt and like making sounds, and I couldn't see nothing, but I knew I'm falling down, and I couldn't see nothing, like not my hands, not myself, not objects, nothing, just literal darkness. Like it was like I was closing my eyes and I couldn't see anything else but darkness. And that time I really scared from the void, but I was like, yo, I wanna like saw this place even more and like visit here eventually even more, and everything was good until can I talk about the guardian
Oh yeah, sure.
bodies,
Yeah.
my guardian? And and someday I was doing my tasks. I did a trust fall. I fell back. It was like again I was blind. Everything was pitch darkness, nothing else. And I heard a voice in the darkness, like a roaring voice. It was scary, and I got scared. Suddenly, some kind of animal, some kind of creature attacked me, very like aggressively and brutal, and didn't let me even breathe. And he just keeps saying he controls reality, and I should tell my masters I should never enter the void again. And I was like, what kind of godlike creature is that? And I realized that creature is just me, a lost part of me. And Lamb really
Uh,
helped me on. Go on, Night.
Snazzy, I was gonna ask, for the others that don't know, can you describe what it looked like, just out of curiosity?
All right. Even
Just
have some
briefly.
images in the art, and the legs of that creature was like some kind of roots. One-eye creature. Very it has a very like all over his body was made out of fur and like hair. It was disgusting, and kind of acid was dripping out of his mouth.
Hmm.
And my first time encounter him when I wasn't like blind or anything, I tried to bite him, and like Buddhist told me to do that. Like I tried to bite him, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And all over my mouth was full of cockroaches. It was disgusting and scary.
Ew.
He suddenly opened his chest. Something like a gut came out, acid like gut, and I always was scared from him. I tried to talk to him, reason with him, even like fight him. I couldn't do none of those stuff. Then my mental health got really bad after a while, and I entered the void in one dream, and uh, he wasn't there anymore. Now I'm searching for him, like again and again. I have a task. I should go to the void and do some stuff, but I go to the void. The first thing I do is like I shout the name Guardian, and I want to see him again. Um, I don't know why, but recently he reminds me of my father.
Hmm.
Like, mm, as some of y'all know, I don't like him very much, and I always stay away from him because all of his personality and everything. And I try to keep a distance from him, but still, I don't know why, but I feel some love for him
Hmm.
still because maybe I'm his son. And again, that Guardian, I hated him so much. When I entered the void, um, I was scared. I was afraid of him, but now I'm looking for him. I'm
Hmm.
searching for him. Exactly what Lamb told me. But like, I just wanna meet him again and say, "What are you? Are you even me?" Talk to him. Ask him about his stuff. Why he done those stuff to me? Why he had attacked me? Is he mad because I left that personality of mine behind me? Is he mad because I forgot about him? I don't know. But
Yeah.
just now, I realized it wasn't like a monster or anything. It was just me, but a part of me that is angry because I don't pay attention to him anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good example again of the Star Wars encounter with Luke and his in the cave
Mm,
facing Darth Vader. He attacks Darth Vader and then he sees that it's actually him, right? He's the one in the mask. So, not to say that it's limited to that again, but how we experience these things are internal, right? And so I think Lamb is a great example of somebody that can encounter these things on a much more deeper level than a lot of people can, because he has the capability of staying lucid in a dream and really kind of paying attention to that stuff, where most of us aren't lucid enough to really see that. And he sees it as aspects of himself. You know, when he encounters these things, like it's pieces of him. Hopefully, I'm saying it right too, but pieces of him kind of fragmented um, into different personas and personalities that um, can change and have structure to them things. But um, and that's the esoteric perspective on these things. Like the guardian word is a guardian of the threshold, and it comes from an esoteric teaching, um, um, somewhat associated with like Rosicrucianism, um, uh, but it's the same basis. Is that you have to encounter this thing, this perspective of yourself or some aspect of yourself in order to overcome it or to understand it to the point that you can enter into um, the deeper aspects of yourself in your mind, because um, it's kind of protective to give you security outside of that. If you're not capable of encountering this, then you're not capable of you're not ready to encounter these other things, right? So it could be like a protective mechanism until you actually are ready. But the encounter itself um, kind of implies that maybe you are ready, right? And that you're encountering it because of that. And this is the trial, right? That you have to face. And for some of us, including myself, that was what happened. Um, I didn't really have a choice with my encounter that started all this for me, and um, and that seems to be the case for a lot of people. Is it's just going to happen until you move through it. So no one said in the void I found myself uh, disappearing, and only my deepest intent remains. And I don't need to say anything or summon anything; it just knows. And I think that's a great like kind of knowing um, of yourself and the experience. Like for me, I have to imagine or use my voice or um, create some type of symbol or something like that structure in order to act out um, whatever the intent is behind it. But um, it's not that's not the same for everybody. So some people can interact with it differently and also enter the void differently. Like the the trust fall um, aspect of it is just the way that I kind of discovered for myself to do it. Like in there's a book called Tibetan Dream Yoga, and um, and I found out from reading that they fall forward, so they fall on their face in the dream, and which is the
That's cool.
technique. Yeah, and so there's clearly many different methods in order to. This would be called a method of meditation, right? Um, so there's different methods to get to the same place. Um, and oddly, like it's quite funny. I have a friend that's um, he's a Orthodox Christian, and I picked up one of the books from a bookstore at his church, and I was reading through it, and they describe like almost word for word what people are doing in lucid dreaming, but um, it's just different words, right? Like it's a different method, but it's the same structure. And if you can identify that, then you can kind of speak the same language. Um, but like if I had a conversation with them, they may not be open to like um, the methods that we do to get to lucid states or whatever, right? Or to engage with these aspects of our mind. But they're clearly doing it through like prayer and things like that. But um, their method is prayer, right? And maybe my method is falling on my back, which brings me to the same place, right? So it's quite interesting. Um, yeah, does anybody else have anything to share about these experiences?
Anybody is welcome to chime in, but one of my favorite pieces of media I'd like to mention something that reminds me a lot of the void state. Um, and this is sort of like unrelated to dreaming, but I want to mention it because it might provide some sort of inspiration to somebody. But in my favorite video game of all time, uh, the original Dark Souls by From Software, there's a section in the game where you have to find a ring that allows you to traverse the abyss.
Hmm.
Um, and you need to equip a ring called Artorias's ring, and then you need to go to the depths of like this underwater city
Hmm.
that didn't used to be underwater. It was flooded, and you have to lower the floodgates so the water can drain, and then you get to the center of the city, and there's this huge well. And if you have the ring equipped, you can go into the well and drop down like hundreds of feet, and then you'll just be in a big like expanse. You'll be in a void,
Hmm.
and it's a boss room, and it's a boss room for a boss fight called the Four Kings. And there are no features of this room. It's just exactly like you guys are describing, just a featureless black area, just pure darkness. And from the darkness emerges these four kings, and they're tall, like gray-skinned humanoid figures with distorted root-like bodies and colossal swords. And they're very wraith like, and they use like these like sound wave attacks, and it's just like super interesting to like see those types of concepts in media. In like a lot of the Souls franchise has very symbolic and deep meanings, so I'm wondering if like maybe that's like part of it,
Yeah.
like maybe
Well, I mean,
there's something like that.
we can unpack a little bit of, you know, at least perspective I have of how art is formed, right? So, um, for many people's experiences and dream experiences, even non-lucid experiences, they have a lot of these same features. Um, you may encounter some mass water, right? And in that water, you may encounter beings or usually uh, beings that are traumatic, you know, boss fights kind of encounters.
Yeah,
And on
like
top of that,
Snazzy's boss fight.
yeah, I mean, isn't that such a great example of what Snazzy went through, even though he may not have, maybe he played that game. I don't know. It doesn't really matter because like
I did.
yeah, so maybe you're conscious, you know, imagine the Moraine is actually able to remember every single thing that you've ever experienced in your entire life. And there's reason to believe that this is true. There's examples of that in real life that people are capable of doing that. So the brain is capable of doing it. Maybe we just aren't conscious of it. But maybe it's capable of doing that. And that these dream experiences of structural type of deep structures inside of our psyche, inside of our minds, inside of our brains, right, are expressed through dream experiences, and that we remember those experiences. And then those people that remember those experiences, even unconsciously, bring them out into art form, right? So they, um, those people want to sell stories, right? They want to make people feel things. The stories that we feel are we feel those things because they relate to us in some form. They seem true, right? Art that is expressed that is not genuine and is not true to a lot of people is rejected, and then that art fails, right? Like especially in video games and media, like it's shown over and over again when we try to force art onto people that is not like properly structured, right? They just reject it, and it's a catastrophe for the people trying to make those type of games or movies. So like these very popular games would feature things that we feel are true to us in some sense. We relate to them. And so the journey that you're taking in that video game is a journey of like an archetypal journey, right? Especially if you attach myth to it and like Greek myths or any religious text to it or anything like that, it's going to have these features to it as well because those same structures are timeless. They're myths that are structured in those same things. They are in us. They're fractile, right? They exist inside of us. So I find myself in the same way. Um, I find myself in the same way, feeling that same thing when I see movies or films or anything that touch on these things, and it's so clear to me. It's like, wow, how do these people know of these things, right? Like, there's no way that these people had lucid dreams or whatever experiences that are these states because they're so difficult to get to sometimes, you know, for most people. And you don't hear about it anywhere. And if you talk to the artists that actually like developed, there's multiple artists usually that are developing those scenes or those experiences, right? Programmers and artists and 3D modelers and blah 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 and directors. All those people would have to be on the same page to really get this into this final product. And but it is in all of us, right? That is the magical part of it is like these people are actually unconsciously expressing it into the world through um, each other, right? And so those stories are true in a sense, right? They're true in each of us. So I see that same thing, like, and it just blows me away. It's almost it's religious, right? You play a game and it's like, wow, it really takes you into that experience. You can actually live through it again, or you can work through it awake. You don't have to be into in a dream. So yeah, I find it really fascinating
I-
too.
as cheesy as it sounds, I feel like those games like really matured me as a person and really made me see things in a completely different light. And it's honestly equipped me for some of the things that I've gone through in life. As again, as cheesy as that sounds,
I don't think that's
but
cheesy. I think that is the same as somebody, um, I mean, it might offend people, but reading the Bible and being like, wow, I've encountered those same things and I've worked through those same problems and that relates so much to my life and that really has a lot of meaning to me, right? And
yeah,
it's true, right? For those people, it's true as anything. But those video games, the stories that you're living through as you play those games are just as true to you as anything else, right? So I don't find it cheesy at all. Deadpool asked, I guess a good question is memory stored essentially local in the brain? And no one can answer that real question um, because we don't really know how capable. I mean, there's evidence out there that the brain is only capable of storing so much information, and then scientists, some scientists don't understand how that's possible that we actually store more information than the brain is capable of storing. Um, and there's many theories on how memory is stored inside the brain. Um, and 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 I had the same question. Um, not to say that I have the answer to it, but I emailed. There's two people that were working on memory, and they were debating about it, and I really was inspired by them. And one was the author of the Dream Drugstore, Alan Hobson, and another guy, I forget his name, but I actually like the other guy better. And so I emailed that guy. I was like, hey, you know, is there any like conclusion to this like debate? Like what's happening to the mind and memory? And he said in his response that he's like, any idea that you have on memory is just as good as anybody else because no one knows the answer. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, thanks.
um, I want to quickly just share something. Um, we all go through life and we have we figure out the answer to whatever scenario or whatever puzzle we're going through. And then, that's done and done. It's over, right? So like you don't think about it, right? You don't think about the answer the next day of the thing that you went through. Or it could be something small, it could be something huge, but you've got so much going on in life that you don't think about these answers constantly that you went through. They're just kind of stored somewhere, they're like uploaded to the cloud or whatever, and you only retrieve the data when you need it. Like, damn, where did I put my keys? Like, I don't remember where I put my keys because I know where they're at. But but like, what if like I set my keys down somewhere, instead of like my near the front door, they're on my nightstand for whatever reason. Like, and sometimes that just comes out of nowhere, like, oh yeah, I remember I put that there. And when I do that in life for whatever scenario it is, before joining this server I had no idea what the void state was, so like I've never heard of it, didn't know anything about it. But I would always like, whenever I would retrieve information, like, oh, what actor was in that movie, and then it just kind of pops into your brain, like, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. I always had a term for that, my own personal term. I would say, oh, I retrieved that from the void.
Yeah,
And I always use that term. I before joining this server.
nice.
So like, oh, I can't think of that actor, and then it just pops like out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, I got that from the void.
Yeah.
That's what I would always call it, and I still call it that to this day. Um,
I think
so
it's a good
like
use.
that's yeah.
The
So
and the and and I don't think you're wrong for if you follow memory back, right, to the point of where it starts, it comes out of nothing, right? So like you're like, whoa, I don't know where that actually came from. So like, and the same thing is with a dream. The dream will come out of seemingly nothing, right? And then into your mind as you experience it. So like it does come out of the void, right? It comes out of nowhere and then
Yeah.
it enters your
Yeah.
mind. The
Well,
Go ahead, Knight.
my favorite part is like when you're like really thinking about something and then you have another task that you need to complete, but like it's maybe I'm the only one, but it almost you can almost feel your brain still working on that issue or that puzzle in the background, and then it just pops like in the middle of the night, like at 2 a.m. when you were still thinking about it, and I'm like, yep, that's the void.
Yeah.
That came from the void.
Yeah, that's good, man.
Yeah.
The capability of the brain, going back to memory, or at least recall, there's great examples of people. There's a documentary about it where they actually spent a lot of time investigating these people. There's very few people on this planet that they know of that can do it, but they actually,
Photographic memory.
it's beyond photographic. They remember every single thing they've ever experienced down to the smallest
Oh my
thing.
God.
So like,
I don't know if I want that.
yeah, and um, most of the people are actually traumatized by it because they have a really difficult time forgiving people because like if they get in an argument or somebody does something bad to them or whatever or they did something, it's as if it happened, immediately. They don't have this like
Oh.
forgetfulness that is happens. So, but one of the people that can do it it's an actress. I think she's still alive. From a show called Taxi, very popular, previous to my my time, but popular TV show. And so you can look up like Taxi actress and memory, and in documentary will pop up. But they can ask her, like they would be like on page blah 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 of season blah blah blah, what is line 3 of whatever, and she'd be like, oh, it's this. She'd be able to read it off as if she was reading in front of her. And she goes, oh, and by the way, these people were wearing these clothes that day. And she can describe the whole scene. She can describe all the other actors and what they say, all their scripts. She remembers every single thing
Living
forever.
computer.
It,
Um,
everything. Like
I
emotions and everything.
like I would never like thought about that. Like you would think that would be a superpower, but it could definitely be detrimental to your emotional state because like think about how impulsive everybody is, and it's like you have an argument with like let's say like a family member, your wife or something, and you may not remember half of the stuff that was said, but like you can forgive. But like if you have like beyond photographic memory and like that's your perception of the world that you can just oh I remember that like you're not going to maybe be fully conscious of the fact that not everybody has your memory level that you do. So
Right.
it's like I can't imagine that that would make it hard to forgive somebody because you're like, well, you did this, this, and this, and
Mhm.
you were wearing this, and you also you had that certain look on your face where your left eye was twitching as you said it,
Yeah.
and I remember it in perfect detail. Oh, and it was a rainy day that day.
Yeah, and I'd be like, yeah, your memory's better than mine, dude. I don't remember I don't remember that at all. I talked about it before. I worked with dementia patients for a couple of years, um, and they have the opposite, problem where they just forget everything. And some of them, like it's funny. It's not funny, but it is funny in a way. Some of them do very well with that, and some people do very poorly. So some people get very upset and angry about their memory being going away, and then some people are just like, eh, well, whatever, and they're kind of like in this semi blissful experience of like as they just forget things. And so like it's kind of inverted, but it's very similar. Is that really comes down to how you take it and how your personality is how you can live with that. It's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
Um,
My grandmother was a lot like that. She would forget something and then she would get very upset and then we would we would have issues and every time she would like go to the doctor, she would get upset when they said that she's showing signs of like dementia and
mm,
stuff. So like it was that type of situation. And
yeah.
we just helped her as best as we could and stuff like that. Um Deadpool, if you don't mind me reading it
Oh yeah,
off.
yeah.
Um, Deadpool says the life review that people supposedly see in near-death experiences, even if that's not what it looks like, a life review, they're shown their whole life, so that's stored somewhere, or past life memories, so many people claim to have. How did that end up in their current brain? Anyway, that question wasn't really raised in expectation of a scientific answer. I would like to add one little thing to that. I would when I was like as early as I could talk, I would tell my mom that my name was James Watson. And
Hmm.
I would always correct her on the pronunciation because she would say Watson, like Sherlock and Watson.
Yeah.
And I would like, no, it's Watson. It's
Awesome.
Watson, mom.
Hmm.
And I would always say that. And I said that I was a writer. I was an author.
Hmm.
That I would always I was very specific with that. And I still remember the name to this day. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I have no memory of a James Watson. That's not my name. I don't know where I got that from at the ripe age of like what, 3?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so interesting stuff.
Yeah. I mean, there's good documentaries on past life type of exploration, especially into younger people under the age of 10, where they again people have spent some good amount of work, like scientific work, trying to verify that these children can actually, um, they may actually have past life experiences, and they're not like fabricating it in some way or cheating, right? And they found if essentially a few kids that were actually capable, like without essentially without a shadow of doubt, something was happening where they were actually recalling some other person's life experiences somehow, and I mean, it was unexplainable how it's possible, right? But and also it happened very young, and it usually was under the age of 10. And when those kids got older, like around age 10, they started forgetting those experiences too. So it kind of makes sense to me
Oh,
that,
that
yeah, like and there's something that happens around like age 5 or so. It's called neural specialization, where essentially a lot of your neurons in your brain actually die off. So maybe that has something to do with like the forgetfulness of these previous experiences or whatever. But
that and societal expectations start coming into play. Like
yeah,
you start
yeah,
becoming more of a societal member, around that age because you're like going into the higher, more advanced schools and
yeah,
getting more advanced, complex social interactions. So you're expected to act a certain way, that type of thing.
yeah.
That makes sense.
In dream experiences, going back in that direction, I've had many dreams, and generally I'm not who I am in my dreams. So I'll look in a mirror and I'll be somebody else. I'll be a woman sometimes a man, and very realistic. Like even sometimes having their mannerisms or their accents, and I can't get rid of it. Um, I've never really had like
Interesting.
memories of them, where I'm conscious and then have memories of who they are and I. Um, but I definitely have had it where I'm like very confused of who I like. The person in the mirror is not me, and I don't know who that person is. I've had cases of like depersonalization while awake, and I've had what feels like a memory of being somebody else and me at the same time, and then kind of that mixture occurring. Um, in me personally, I don't think memory is local to the brain. I think the brain is a transceiver, um, just like a radio
I
transceiver.
agree.
And
It's sort of like a radio of consciousness.
yeah, and we use fields and things like that as like explanations to like maybe where these things are stored, similar to like a computer. But I think it it's beyond field. It's not a electromagnetic field or anything like that. Um, and and again, going back to like this analogy or this association to art and things like that, and expression of the unconscious, technology to me seems very similar, right? Technology is like an extension of who we are internally. We're trying to recreate our experience in a different way, right? So like wireless, you know, technology and things like that, I think is mimicking something that we unconsciously do and nature does already, right? We're just not very good at it, where nature has exceeded that beyond anything we're capable of. Just like a computer is like, oh, we're trying to recreate the human brain, right? But it's it uses way more power and is way under capable of what we're already able to do. So
Yeah, not even like some of our quantum computers are to the level of our own brains. Pretty crazy when you think about it.
you know, so I mean, um, I think humans are very good at trying to project internal reality externally in everything we do, and 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 then we see the results of that and think think we've made some really cool stuff, you know. But and sometimes it is cool, you know. It reminds us of our internal world, and then we can kind of jive off of that. But we've been going for a bit now. Does anybody have any last things kind of to put out there? And um,
Um, I don't. We might want to give a chance for somebody else to say
yeah,
something, but I would like to make a little announcement to anybody. If you guys have an idea or topic that you want us to cover, please like either send one of us a message or let somebody know. Like we are open to ideas. This isn't like, a dictatorship on what we have to cover. I mean, as long as it's on topic with the server, I don't see an issue with, somebody throwing suggestions out there. So please.
absolutely. Yeah, somebody's typing, but we'll read off in a second. Anybody else have anything else to say that they maybe an experience they've had recently that seems to it's coming up and they're wanting to share it? I think the best sharing is like where you kind of feel like you want to stand up, but you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. You know, it's like I want to stand up, but maybe I shouldn't. That's like when you're like, you got to share, you know, because it's like
Stage fright.
there's that pressure behind it. Be like, yeah, share it, but you're like, but I'm too scared. Maybe they'll think something.
We are all judging you. No, I'm just joking. What's up, Snazzy? What's on your mind?
Um, I know I already talked too much, but
No,
Welcome to the
bro.
club.
What are you talking about?
I just wanted to say before you even talk about Dark Souls and From Software games and stuff, I wanted to say the same thing. I mean, personally, I didn't like finish Dark Souls 1, the original, and I mean, never played the second sequel, but Dark Souls 3 is my like favorite games. Like the and the part you said, these games made you like grow in life, understand something, and Dark Souls 3 did some stuff. A thing that it teaches you, you either have to let go of the fire and let it just like turn off and let the age of the darkness begin, or and, let me just ask you what is have you played or know the story of Dark Souls? Even a little?
No, I've never played those games, but they sound really fascinating.
Hmm? I
The
mean,
reason I brought it up to you, I brought it up here, where it is because I feel like the way and I think Snazzy will agree with me here, the way that the story is presented is very unique. It's not told to you in a
yeah,
direct manner, and you have to go hunt for the items, and you have to read through the
exactly.
manuscripts to learn the story. And if you don't pay attention to any of that, you're just kind of a guy, just like doing random stuff. But and it's not
Exactly.
told to you directly, it's told to you through environmental storytelling and through the things that you fight, and they drop things, and the things that they drop you can read about them, and there's a lot of psychological and subconscious elements within those games, and like you said, a lots of like mythology woven into it, like a lot of the
Mhm.
Greek mythology and stuff, and there's a lot to do with like the unconscious mind and all sorts of like interesting like concepts. It's a very beautiful game and presented well.
Yeah, it sounds
Yeah.
fascinating. one thing I learned about myself, and maybe it'd be a good topic to talk about, is like kind of know your fit in life a little bit. Um, for me, like it's very important to do thing as something as a group of people versus like a individual. So like when I do things I really enjoy, like especially games, is like playing with other people and having them share the experience with me at the same time. And I think that's about me trying to connect to different parts of myself and and have communion, right, with other people to share that. So like the best thing in my mind is like, oh, I get to watch somebody live stream Dark Souls as they experience it for the first time and me, and then I'm like, whoa, like with them, like that to me is like would be like ideal. But like if it was a single player game, it's like to me
It
it's all
is. It is.
yeah.
It is co-op. You can
Oh, okay.
experience it with another person,
Mm,
up
Oh,
to
nice.
two other people.
Oh, that'd be fun.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I have
So
to
there
think
is
about
a
that.
yeah,
mod. I mean, there is a mod named Seamless Co-op. You can install it and even play
that's only
with
for Elden
more
Ring.
people.
Oh, okay. I played a little
No,
Elden Ring.
the Dark Souls mod version came out. I even played it with my friend.
Yes, I'll have to look into that. Deadpool said something. Let me read it off. Well, yesterday's question of the day was quite complex. I don't recall it. If somebody wants to fill me in. Um, I felt I may regret exposing myself for way of thinking, I guess, and no one responded anyway, which made me think I shouldn't have shared. No, that's not the case. A lot of the time I'll read something, Deadpool, and I just don't have time to respond, at least in a deep way, so I just don't respond at all because I can't. If you were to give me a long paragraph, I would feel bad by not responding either in equal amounts or what. And Deadpool followed up and said, "If I do think of anything that's related, I will suggest for sure. But what's not related anyway?
Yeah.
Everything can be a spin towards the dream's direction. Anything, I guess, anything that you feel is in alignment with the server, that's like, dream related, unconscious related. I guess, I mean, like, even in some cases, OBE, even though that's not the main focus of the server, it can be kind of a catch-all term because people have different beliefs on what OBEs are
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, we can talk about that. That'd be
So,
great. I mean, yeah, like Knight's saying, I think Knight's just saying like think about the server, and then if it's like yeah that could be applied, then bring it up.
um,
Versus
next
like
week we
sorry,
should
go
talk
ahead.
about tacos
Yeah, exactly.
because like Taco Thursday, that would be really nice.
Well, taco means what's the meaning of taco? Yeah. But yeah, if you guys got a it's not gonna be shot down. Let's just say that. Like, just bring it up,
Yeah.
and we'll make it happen. All right. So no worries.